Wow, I was not expecting the Reignited trilogy to ever be a thing, but since it is, I guess now would be a good time to talk about the original 3 Spyro games. Listen, I'm trying to make more reviews focused on PlayStation 2 games, it's just that Spyro is a special exception for me. You see, Spyro the Dragon was the first platformer I ever played. Growing up with a PlayStation, chances are you're either more of a Crash fan or a Spyro fan, and as much as I love Crash 2, I always preferred playing one of the Spyro games instead. However, as the years have passed, do I still enjoy these games? Well, why don't we let the video begin by taking a look at the original Spyro the Dragon. The setup here is pretty simple. A bunch of dragons are being interviewed for no particular reason when they are asked about someone named Nasty Nork, which prompts one of the dragon elders to suddenly start acting like a jerk and begins to insult Nasty. This, of course, upsets Nasty so much that he turns all the dragon elders into stone, missing Spyro because he's so small. From here, it's now Spyro's job to save the dragon elders, as well as putting an end to Nasty Nork. Like I said, it's a very simple setup, but I think that's fine. The story accomplishes what it needs to by introducing us to Spyro and the fun fantasy world that he inhabits. While you will meet a lot of other elder dragons, the interactions with them are super short, and only a few really stand out to me. Spyro himself is fine, he's a spunky young dragon who can be a bit eager, nothing special. At the very least, I find it all charming, so yeah, I enjoy the simplicity of the game's story. So, fittingly enough, Spyro the Dragon is a 3D collectathon platformer, much like the PlayStation 2 games for the marathon I recently started, though Spyro doesn't play like a typical 3D platformer character. Instead of double jumping, Spyro can glide long and short distances. He can charge at enemies with his horns, and lastly, Spyro can breathe fire. Thankfully, Spyro controls really well, making his moves fun to use and have a nice flow to them. Sure, there are a few moments where gliding to a higher platform can be a bit picky, but that hardly ever happens. Honestly, the camera is the only thing I find a bit annoying, simply because rotating it takes longer than I like. But again, it isn't a huge issue, as a majority of the time, the camera is used well. Progression is what I would say is the game's strongest suit though. You see, you begin the game in a small and safe hub world, and you find out that there are other hub worlds you need to travel to via the balloonist. Later hub worlds actually become more dangerous by having enemies and bottomless pits in them, but each of them give you a good idea of what to expect from the levels found in each hub world. So how exactly do you progress to each hub world? Well, the balloonist has 3 different requirements. You either have to rescue a certain amount of elder dragons, collect enough gems, or have gathered enough dragon eggs. This allows you to play the game at your own pace, even being able to skip whole levels if you wanted to. Dragon elders are rescued by walking up to these statues, which will then free the elder who might give Spyro some advice or a hint. The area where you save the dragon elder acts as a checkpoint for in case you die, but these are also areas where you need to save the game. I say need to because there is no autosave here. Gems are scattered all throughout the hub worlds and levels, with each different colored gem having a different value. Sometimes gems can be found in vases, these chests you just first have to find a key to, and these weird propeller boxes. If you happen to die, you don't have to recollect any of the gems you've already acquired, which is nice and is something that remains in the next 2 games. Lastly, we have these dragon eggs, which can be recovered from these blue bandit guys, who you can tell are nearby thanks to a special laugh they have. You simply have to chase them down and hit them with your horns or fire to get the egg. What can make these moments easier is a special technique where you hold down the charge and jump button at the same time. It becomes a fun jump charging move that not only makes you faster, but is also much better at making turns. By using the select button, you can see all that you've collected in each area, which is helpful, so the levels themselves are pretty fun. Some levels are a bit more linear, but make up for this with some looping areas, well set up enemies, and some moments of platforming. Some of the levels have more branching pathways, and others have more optional areas, with a few levels feeling much more open. All the levels have an exit portal that you can make your way to, or you can just pause the game and select exit level whenever you want to, and get to keep all your progress. Again, another great feature that remains in the 2 sequels. Exploring levels is really fun. Some have more platforming challenges, others have a unique feature like these electrical floors, saving fairies, or using lamps to change enemies. A few levels even have power-ups on them, like super charge ramps that can help you make long glides, and super fire that lets you burn anything. None of these levels are ever all that hard, but still offer enough of a challenge to make things entertaining. I should mention Sparks, the dragonfly who follows Spyro. Sparks represents Spyro's health by changing colors. If Sparks isn't around, then Spyro can only take one more hit before losing a life. Sparks can also collect gems, so it's best to keep him around. The only other kind of levels in the game are flight stages, where you fly around and clear out all the objects in a certain amount of time, finding the best path to do so. These can be pretty entertaining and offer a different kind of challenge. Plus, they are a great way to get gems, and they never last too long. There are boss levels, but trust me when I say that the fights are hardly a challenge at all, and don't really stand out that much, with the only exception of Metalhead. For me, this is one of the most fun games to fully complete, and it isn't too difficult either, with only a few obscure areas. For example, we have the charge leaps in treetops, you just gotta be careful of one ramp. Then there's this more obscure charge jump you have to make in haunted towers, which could have been mitigated if one of the many elder dragons who just say thanks Spyro had instead given you a hint of this area. But like I said, completing this game is really fun to me, mostly because when you first enter a stage, you can fully complete it, which makes things so much more interesting and allows you to play the game basically however you want. Full completion even gives you access to a bonus level, which is nice. Okay, so while the character models are rather simplistic, I do enjoy the visual style here. There are some fun designs for the different dragon elders and enemies. Environments all look really nice with enough detail to make them feel unique from each other. Plus, there are some nice little attentions to detail, specifically character interactions. The way Spyro enters portals and gives the impression that he's flying to each new level is a fantastic transition that really makes you feel like you're traveling to new worlds. Colors are well used all throughout the game, especially when it comes to the skyboxes that really help give a specific tone to each level. There is plenty of variety with levels too, from icy caverns, desert towns, floating castles, to open prairies. Now, from what I understand, Sony really wanted Insomniac, the developers of the game, to show off the PlayStation's draw distance capabilities. So even if you're on the other end of a level, you can still see buildings and objects in the distance. However, they will be in a super simple 3D model that becomes more detailed the closer you get to it. It doesn't matter how far you are, you're always going to have a decent idea of what's up ahead, which I think is neat and very well done. Voice acting is fine. It has that PS1 charm to it, though Spyro's voice actor can be a bit off at times. The music is fantastic, creating a unique fantasy dreamlike quality to the game. This is all thanks to Stuart Copeland, who composed the game's music, and supposedly played each level to get a feel for what kind of music it should have.
Step one is to beat the level. Now, for a 10-year-old kid, this is no problem. But for me, I have to beat the level and figure out the jumping, and I kind of navigate my way through the levels. In the very early stage, it's a lot of fun because I find a level that I can beat and get an attitude for it, and then create a piece of music for it. But then as the game progresses and I start getting to some of the more difficult levels and I'm stumped immediately, I've got to beat this bad guy before I can stay on that level for long enough to write a piece of music for it. So I have to learn how to beat all the bad guys, and if I was having to pay for my helpline, I'd be running up a huge tab here.
Some great themes to listen to would be the title theme, Twilight Harbor, Dark Passage, and Wizard Peak. In the end, I still love this game. I think it has a charming little story, fun characters, and offers an enjoyable platforming experience that allows you to collect whatever you want. Sure, the camera can be a bit of an issue at times, and not having the hover at the end of a glide can be annoying at specific sections, but these are super nitpicks. I think it's a fun game that might not be amazing, but is still overall enjoyable. At the very least, it's a great introduction to 3D platformer collectathons, as it's a pretty easy and laid-back game, though 100%ing it isn't too hard either. For me, it's a fun game to fully complete, as it still manages to stand out from its sequels, making it a game I go back to quite often. Next time, we'll be talking about Spyro 2, but before I go, I just wanted to say that about a year ago, I had made a top 10 least favorite Spyro levels list, and as time has gone on, I've really grown to not like the video, mostly because I ended up over-exaggerating some minor issues. So I've made the video unlisted. If for some reason you still want to see it, there will be a link to that top 10 in this video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time where this adventure continues.